3 days prior to my wife's family reunion, she informed me that I was not permitted to attend. My name is Jared Flynn. It was a Sunday afternoon, and the sunlight streamed through the windows of our living room, casting languid golden slants as Talia folded towels on the floor. Couch. She moved with a methodical calm, arranging the white squares into perfect rectangles as if nothing was amiss. Another crease could be used to smooth over the imperfections in our world. I sat across from her, cradling a cup of coffee that had evaporated. Extremely cold. Observing her as she shifted her weight from one foot to the other in a rhythm that I had learned years ago, I did not detect any ill will. Her words struck me like stones when she stated, "It's just for immediate family this time." A smile was forced from me, despite the fact that my heart had constricted as soon as she blinked and looked away. I responded with a resounding yes. It was more stable than I had anticipated. I desired to believe her when she stated, "Whatever you require." I desired to have faith in the woman I wedded. The Wunwo continued to use her fingertip to trace the freckle near my collarbone as I dozed off in bed. I reminded myself that tit was not indicative of anything, that families alter their minds, that invitations are updated, and that a single weekend apart was not indicative of anything. "Darker," she replied. Just when I inquired whether she required any assistance from the store, I placed my beverage on the coffee table and reclined, observing her as she carried laundry. "Relax. Enjoy a night to yourself." Into the bedroom. That was the moment when the initial germ of uncertainty was planted. I rehearsed her words in my mind, experimenting with theon emphasis, family members who are immediately related. What is the rationale behind the qualifier? Why, at this time, however, I persuaded myself that it is probable that there was nothing. She had her justifications. I occupied my time with duties the following morning. I washed the vehicle. I perused the bookstore in search of a new mystery novel and visited the cafe where the barista was familiar with my order. Each the mundane task felt like an attempt to occupy my consciousness and prevent the uneasy hum of suspicion from becoming more pronounced. With each passing minute, I imagined Talia in the company of her relatives, exchanging stories and embracing her cousins. About my childhood holidays, and I smiled. Her rationale for excluding me was rewritten in my mind. It is possible that her grandmother possessed a reduced gathering was necessary due to health issues. It is possible that her sister's new fiancé was in town, and they intended to surprise him. I recited these justifications like a mantra, in search of reassurance. I was persuaded by the evening. I convinced myself that I was over, that my faith in her was unbreakable, and that nothing could break the bond we constructed then. The photographs were taken. I was not randomly perusing when I encountered them. I was currently in search of a recipe for I was composing a family blog post about dinner when my phone began to vibrate with notifications from social media. Talia's sibling had uploaded an album. The Haley Family Reunion 2025 was the title, and my curiosity drew me in. The initial Fudidra, her mother, was depicted in images greeting guests at the front entrance of her parents' home with flowers in her hand and a smile on her face. There was a proud expression on her face. I identified my father-in-law's vintage record player in the corner of the room, as well as the faded wallpaper that was consistent with the draperies in the living room of our apartment. I proceeded to browse, and the entire scene changed. Presently, there Talia. She is wearing the sapphire dress she purchased for our anniversary last year, with her hair pinned back in gentle curls. Calendar year. Her posture was relaxed, with one forearm casually resting on Marcus Hale's broad shoulder. I caught a fleeting glimpse of the shirt as he laughed at something she murmured, and his head tipped back. I recognized the faded charcoal tee, with a graphic he wore beneath his blazer, as I had folded it into my laundry basket only a few weeks ago. My esophagus became parched. My thumb trembled as I touched the image to enlarge it. The subsequent image showed them clinking champagne flutes, her eyes gleaming with amusement, and his expression implied he had inadvertently entered an intimacy that was intended for spouses, not ex-partners. I felt a sudden jolt in my midsection. He had drenched my cheeks until too was certain that someone on the bus driving home could observe each drop of blood coursing through my vessels. I perused the page. The album evolved into a gallery of betrayal as it progressed. A photograph was taken of her embracing her cousin Ree, and in the background, Marcus presented her father with a tray of orders, as if he had been summoned by blood. In another instance, Talia supported herself against his chest as he wrapped an arm around her midsection, an embrace that was so natural that it appeared as though they were inseparable. Too was frozen in that frame, my pulse pounding in my ears, and every rational thought was overwhelmed by a tidal wave of disbelief. What was the duration of this? How many tutorials had I viewed with her while he secretly accessed her phone? How many Sundays are there? I had taken morning walks alone while she met him in that cabin in the mountains. The concerns accumulated, suffocating in their accumulation. Wait, I placed the phone down and pressed my palms against my eyes. The earth was tipped. The accumulation of mail that awaits opening on my coffee table. The light that emanated from the window appeared to distort the space around me. I then came to the realization that trust cannot be easily restored once it has been breached. It fractures, resulting in the transmission of perpetually bouncing shards of doubt. I desired to yell, to demand answers, but my voice ceased to exist. Beloved, the wedding vows reverberated in my memory, in times of joy and sorrow, in health and in adversity. Although I had fulfilled my obligation, the time she wept over, the late nights at the office, the long hours away on business trips, and the small doses of sorrow that arrived, a memory that has been deeply suppressed for an extended period. However, this was distinct. When I eventually succeeded in lifting myth reunion photos, continued to illuminate the phone screen, mocking me with their mirth and their clinking glasses. Too was uncertain as to what I would say to Talia upon her arrival. I was uncertain as to whether I could save the life we shared, constructed over the course of 5 years, brick by brick, with whispers and shared mourn ings. Confessions. I was aware that her ex was standing beside her, wearing my shirt, and I felt the ground shift, out from under me, beneath my soles. I once had faith in her, but upon viewing those images, I have come to the realization that I no longer do. I was confident that I could trust anything again. I had not attended the reunion. However, at that precise moment, I came to the realization that I had already suffered a loss that was significantly greater than a weekend gathering. I had misplaced the version of us that I believed to be authentic. When I first viewed the toast in the photo album on Sunday evening, my blood turned to cold. The imagined self was deceptively ordinary, a family gathering with glasses suspended. In mid-air, however, the features were the ones I recognized. Had never anticipated their meeting. Marcus Hale's midriff was encircled by Talia's arm. Her fingers were gently resting on the small of his back, as if they had practiced that gesture 1,000 times. He holding his champagne flute just beneath the rim of her glass, he reciprocated, with a half-lean ensuring that the glassware was in perfect alignment. The very pinnacle was nearly touched. Posted by her sister Raina, the caption beneath the image read, "Here's to old times and real ones," with 9 miniature hearts immediately following the exclamation point. I gazed at my phone, my hand trembling as I fervently desired the pixels to appear blend into an innocuous object. However, they declined. Each particularity was exceedingly explicit, the manner in which Talia's lips curled into a wide, unabashed smile. Marcus' irises were filled with a genuine warmth as he gazed at her, subsequent the manner in which everyone else gathered around them as if this toast was the focal point of the entire reunion. I perched on the edge of as we lay in bed. The bedside lamp's gentle illumination casts lengthy shadows across the walls. I relived the events of that day in my consciousness. Dialogue. Talia's dismissal of me as if I were a distant acquaintance. She folded towels with the same mechanical precision as she had used in her speech, concealing her thoughts like secrets behind a veil of domesticity. I recollected her pitch-perfect tone and her immediate family. Exclusively. Her words had appeared innocent, a minor alteration. Presently they resonated with malice. She had articulated her decision. They did not perceive me as genuine, nor did her family. It appears that she no longer perceives me as genuine. Initially, anger erupted in a white-hot fury, the flame that scorched my chest and caused my vision to dim at the edges. She has the audacity to publish that information in a public forum. Caption. As if the monument was necessary for the world to see to my exclusion, as if I had not been married to her for 5 years. Sharing everything from nocturnal confessions to morning coffees, I recalled the laughter and weeping that accompanied our wedding vows. Of delight as we pledged to remain faithful until our mutual demise, did those serve no purpose? At this moment, the reverberating sound from the